Hey y'all, I finished up Joshua chapter 13 and 14, and let's talk about it real quick. So, when you're reading it, it's going to seem a little boring because it's just a list of lands that still need to be taken and what God had promised, but I promise there's a message, and we're going to quickly get to it. So, at the beginning of chapter 13, it tells us that Joshua is up there in age and that God tells him that there are still very large areas of land that need to be taken, meaning there is still work to do. So then he goes on and he lists out the regions, and he lets Joshua know that he himself is going to drive out the people from the mountain region. And then he tells Joshua to be sure to distribute the land to the Israelites for inheritance and divide it among the 9 tribes and half of the tribe of Manasseh. It goes on to talk about the land that the other half of Manasseh and the Reubenites and Gadites had already received back when Moses was leading them. And then get this, out of 33 verses in that chapter, only 2 talked about the Levites. And I honestly feel like they deserve just a little bit more. Because of their faithfulness in the golden calf incident that was back in Exodus, God had set the Levites apart and he formally consecrated them in numbers to serve the whole nation. So they didn't get a chunk of land like the other tribes did. Instead, their inheritance looked a little bit different. They got God himself and the things that were sacrificed to him that supported their ministry, and they got to live among any of the towns scattered across the land so that they could serve, teach, and help others to worship. I think that's pretty special. So moving on to 14, they begin the official process of dividing the lands, and then Caleb steps forward and he reminds Joshua of what had happened back when Moses was leading them and sent them out to be spies. He reminds Joshua the spies back in the day had scared all the people, whereas he wholeheartedly followed the Lord, and because of his faithfulness, he asked for the inheritance that God had promised him back then. And so then Caleb also points out that he is now 85 years of age, and it doesn't matter. Age does not matter. He says, I am still as strong today as I was back then. Let me have my inheritance. So he was not afraid, even though the inheritance he was supposed to get was full of large and strong people. He was not afraid to go and take his inheritance because God had promised it to him. And he said, I don't care if I'm 85. The Lord is going to drive these people out. I know it. He promised it to me. So he wanted it, and it was given to him. So here's my takeaway. As long as there is breath in our lungs, there is still work that needs to be done. And faith doesn't wait for everything to be perfect in order to start planning. Faith trusts in God's promise and begins to act even before the battle begins, even if it looks tough. Because God still has work for us to finish. And whether the battle is physical or it's spiritual, they both work together to play a part in our purpose. You've already come so far, so don't settle when there is so much more that He has waiting for you. Even when things don't look so promising, trust in God's plan. His promises aren't finished, and your faith matters in the work that still needs to be done. He loves you, and so do I.